Hello and welcome to SciFI MineCart, the show in which we dig up sci-fi shows that no longer get or have never gotten the attention they deserve and attempt to bring them back into the light. This episode...
The month is October. The film is Day of the Triffids. October is scary. Day of the Triffids is scary. Match made in heaven. Let's begin. Day of the Triffids is a 1962 sci-fi film with sort of an old-style horror monster movie buzz to it. The film follows Bill Mason and a young girl he meets up with as they attempt to survive the horticultural apocalypse. This apocalypse comes twofold. Firstly, there's a meteor shower that blinds everyone, except for Susan, the young girl, who was hiding in a train, and Bill Mason, who was already blinded in the hospital, so wasn't able to watch the meteor shower, and so did not become blind. There are also a few other seers, but, these are the important ones because it's these ones that the film is following. To add to this inconvenience, there's also killer plants on the loose. They can walk around, spit poison, and they seem to eat meat. Which is quite unfortunate, because all the main characters in this movie are made of meat. So, what makes this a sci-fi film, you may ask? I mean, it's got a meteor shower in it, but meteors exist in real life, so that doesn't make it a sci-fi automatically. And the walking killer plants don't necessitate sci-fi, that could just as easily make it horror or fantasy. So why is there a general acceptance that this is a sci-fi film? Little Shop of Horrors has genetically changed man-eating plants, but Little Shop of Horrors is considered to be a horror film often, so should not Day of the Triffids fall under the same category? Well, honestly, I have no idea. What necessitates a sci-fi and what distinguishes it from a horror film are often very fluid, and there is plenty of cross-genre, so all that matters for me is that it is generally considered a sci-fi, so I'm rolling with it. And also at one point they do mention that the Triffids might have come from outer space, so space alien plants, that'll do it. And the film actually does have some scientists in it, if that helps out at all. We have two not botanists.
Damn it all, I'm not even a botanist.
In a lighthouse, I guess, looking at fish. These two are basically the B story in the film. They are trying to figure out what the Triffids are and, I guess, how to kill them. However, in my opinion, this is the worst part of the film. The two characters are annoying as hell, and they spend the entire time arguing at each other and having small petty jabs at each other. It's really unpleasant to watch, and I just wish they would both shut the hell up. On top of this, the solution they end up finding is really, really lame. I won't address that quite yet. That'll be after a spoiler warning. So let's first talk about things that aren't spoilers. The visuals in the film are fantastic, the acting is still pretty good, the whole survival storyline resembles a lot of modern day zombie films, so if you're into things like The Walking Dead or Falling Skies, you'll probably enjoy this film. And most importantly, in any monster film, the Triffids look fantastic. Really, really quite scary. It might look a little bit dated these days, but still, if I was to run into anything looking like that was moving around on the streets of London, I would probably soil myself. There are still a few things though in the film that don't really quite make a great deal of sense. For instance, you see the world the day before the Day of the Triffids, and everything is going swimmingly. Then the meteor shower happens at night time, everyone watches it, then the next morning, everything has gone really quite south, really quite quickly. I mean, seriously, have a look at this. The hospital's trashed, and the streets are trashed, and everyone's disappeared. Where did they all go? Are they all dead? It's bizarre. If you were to wake up one morning and notice that you were blind, is the first thing that you would do is, what, trash the hospital? I don't understand how a city full of blind people, who are obviously concerned, managed to do so much damage so quickly. I can't even check my emails before a shower and a coffee, and yet these people, without even having sight, have managed to destroy an entire country in the early hours of the morning. Blind people's ability to destroy themselves is once again addressed at the train station through an announcement, which states that the only danger is that you will injure yourself or accidentally start fires.
The only danger is that you will injure yourself or accidentally start fires.
I mean, I can see how there's a possibility for recently blinded people to start fires, especially if they're trying to cook or have a smoke or something, but you wouldn't think it would be the highest possibility of danger at a bloody train station. If everyone's blind at a train station, you'd think the warning would be saying, stay still, don't wander around, you might fall on the bloody tracks. But no, it's fires! And it does seem to be a real issue, because every time you see a shot of London, it is on fire. So these blind people are managing to set themselves and everything around them on fire. It's just incredible. We also see later in the film that fire is actually a very effective tool against Triffids. So you'd think if everyone in London was accidentally setting everything on fire, the Triffids wouldn't have actually spread very quickly. But alas, they did. The spread of the Triffids is also a little bit confusing in this film. For instance, we see a guy working in a greenhouse killed by a Triffid during the meteor storm before he was blinded. So obviously the Triffids didn't all come down from space. At the start you're sort of imagining that all of the Triffids in London came from this greenhouse. However, later you see Triffids in other areas. This guy here, says the first one came down with a meteor, so these ones are probably from the recent meteor shower. But does that mean that they all came down fully born, and the ones in London at the very start are the ones from the meteor shower? And if so, why was it important to show the ones in the greenhouse first? It's all just a little bit confusing, in sort of a distracting way, and I wish they had addressed that part of the film a little bit clearer. This all aside, however, Day of the Triffids is a classic sci-fi horror film for a reason. It is a very enjoyable film, and as I have said, the Triffids are quite scary still. So if you are looking for a good sci-fi horror film to watch this Halloween, give Day of the Triffids a look-see. But this is where I'm going to say spoiler alert and get into some of the extra stuff. So if you haven't seen it yet, stop watching it, go watch the film, and, come back. Now that that's done with, salt water. Salt water, really? Salt water kills them. That's super lame. That's Signs level lame. I didn't like that at all, and I thought it was very silly, especially considering that the people who discovered salt water kills them were living on a lighthouse and had been attacked by a Triffid. So firstly, if the Triffid had come from London, how did it get to the lighthouse? And secondly, if it had landed from space, it was just super lucky that it landed on the lighthouse. It's Lilo and Stitch style lucky. And thirdly, if you've ever been to a lighthouse or on a small island at the sea, you know that salt water sprays up everywhere. So how did this Triffid manage to grow to such a size and manage to stalk them outside where they would have been spraying up salt water for days without getting killed by the salt water? I didn't like the salt water at all. I just thought it was ridiculously bad. It was a far too neat way to tie up the story, and I think it would have been a better way to end the movie if they had been left not knowing. The two main characters managed to escape with the Navy at the end, so it would have been a good and still spooky ending to have the main characters escape, but the Earth still in turmoil. It didn't need this nice little bundle that really diminished the ending quite a lot. However, as I've said, it still is a very enjoyable sci-fi film, and many of these elements add to the cheesiness of the film that makes it also enjoyable. So if you are looking for something fun to watch this Halloween, I highly suggest you check it out.
Thanks for watching. I have been and still am Grindle.
What's making that noise? It's the trees. Folk used to say there was something in the water that made the trees grow tall. And come alive. Even move.